Exile Prime, the last planet. Prologue. The last refuge. The galaxy burns. A war unlike any the stars have seen consumes everything in its path. Empires crumble, governments disband, and entire civilizations vanish into the black void. Across 1,000 battlefields, blood spills like rivers, and the cries of the dying echo in the empty reaches of space. The once proud alliances of the galaxy are no more. The fate of countless worlds is sealed in the fire of conflict. But amid the chaos, one last hope remains. A place forgotten by time. A world untouched by the ravenous grip of war. Exile Prime. It is not marked on star maps, not known by the conquerors, who roam the galaxy. It is a whisper in the dark, an uncharted rock on the edge of the galaxy's edge. For eons, it lay hidden, ignored by both the victors and the vanquished. A place to be left behind, abandoned to obscurity. But now, as the fabric of the galaxy unravels, Exile Prime is no longer just a distant myth. It has become the last sanctuary, the only world left untouched by the flames of battle. The universe is collapsing into chaos, and here, on this forsaken planet, some hope for survival still lingers. It is a fragile hope, but hope nonetheless. Why, the last systems fall under the weight of war. A new kind of desperation rises. Outlaws, mercenaries, and warlords begin to drift toward Exile Prime, each driven by the need to escape the wrath of a galaxy on fire. Desperate survivors, refugees, fleeing a dying world, seek the one place that might offer a shred of safety. Their ships carve through the stars, navigating the treacherous storm walls that shield the planet from discovery. Exile Prime beckons, its allure irresistible, the last free world in existence. It is said that no one has ever come back from Exile Prime, but no one really knows why. Yet even on this untouched world there is no true safety. It is not untouched by darkness. It has been forgotten by all, until now. But the power of Exile Prime is not in its untouched land. It is in the ancient secrets buried beneath the surface. Secrets that could change the course of history if they can be unlocked. Secrets that will draw all who know of them into a deadly struggle. For here, on the precipice of destruction, the last battle is about to begin. And as the ships break through the storm and Exile Prime's desolate surface comes into view, one truth becomes certain. Freedom is a fragile thing, and even here nothing is safe. Chapter 1. Descent into Shadow. Captain Reyes Voss grips the helm of the Iron Requiem, his hands calloused, his mind clouded with the echoes of battles past. The stars stretch and twist as his ship fights through the storm wall, a turbulent, violent maelstrom that surrounds Exile Prime. It is a place hidden from the galaxy, buried beneath layers of cosmic chaos that prevent any who seek it from finding it. A shield against the desperate, the dangerous, and the unwelcome. But Reyes has always known how to navigate the impossible. The Iron Requiem groans beneath him, its battered hull barely holding together after countless encounters with death. Once a proud warship, it now serves as little more than a lifeline for the last of the smugglers, outlaws, and desperate souls fleeing the devastation of a galaxy in flames. Behind him, the ragtag fleet of survivors follows, their ships haphazard, unrefined, clinging to the storm's edge. They all seek the same destination, the last sanctuary, Exile Prime. Reyes stares at the swirling chaos outside his window. It's the kind of storm that destroys anything that enters its domain. Shards of asteroids, rogue satellites, and wreckage from 100 failed expeditions fill the void. The storm wall is a graveyard in space, and those who dare to navigate it are often reduced to fragments. But Reyes doesn't flinch. He's made this journey countless times before. "I can't believe we're actually going to make it," Jax, a young rebel with more bravado than sense, mutters over the comms. Reyes doesn't respond. He doesn't have to. He knows the drill. Their lives have been spent running, hiding, surviving. Now, for the first time in what feels like an eternity, they have a chance at freedom, if they can make it. Then, The storm shudders. The ship lurches, groaning like a wounded beast. Reyes feels it in his bones. Something's wrong. A sudden jolt rattles through the hull and the lights flicker in the cockpit. Outside, the storm seems to pulse, as if the very fabric of space is alive, twisting and contorting like a wounded creature. Something is watching. Reyes curses under his breath, hitting the console in a series of practiced motions. "Hold it together, damn it," he mutters. Not now. He's seen this before. Shifts in the storm that shouldn't happen. Unexpected. Fluctuations in the turbulence. Something else is out there. Something that shouldn't be. "Reyes," Kara, his second-in-command, calls out urgently, her voice cutting through the crackling static. "We're being followed. Several ships. They're closing fast." A chill runs down. His spine, the reality sinking in. They're not alone. Others have found their way through the storm. Outlaws, mercenaries, hunters. There's no way to tell. The storm was never meant to be navigated by anyone other than the most desperate. And now the storm itself seems to have attracted them. Reyes slams his fist on the control panel. The ships behind him, desperate for safety, are dangerously close. Too close. "We've got no choice," he growls. "We punch through the heart of it." Full speed. The engines roar to life as the ship surges forward. The iron requiem groans as it pushes through the storm, its hull straining against the overwhelming forces at play. Outside, jagged rocks tear through the air like the claws of some unseen beast. The surrounding ships behind them begin to fall into the chaos, torn apart by the storm's wrath, or crashing against the debris of the dead ships that litter the void. Reyes doesn't look back. Survival is all that matters. The rest, it's out of his hands. Then, through the storm, a flicker of light, a break in the chaos, a signal. The beacon of Exile Prime, shining through the heart of the storm like a lighthouse in the darkness. It's real. The planet is there, waiting. But even as the ships race toward it, Reyes can feel it. A sense of unease. A feeling that Exile Prime is not as safe as the rumors suggest. The storms rage, but they seem to be clearing a path for the incoming fleet. It's almost as if the planet itself wants them to come. Reyes pushes the ship to its limits, his crew holding on as the storm gives way. The atmosphere is thick, cloying with the weight of 1,000 unknowns. As they break through the final layer of turbulence, Reyes feels the unmistakable pull of gravity, the world below now clearly in sight. Exile Prime. The landscape below is vast, desolate desert stretching out like an endless sea of sand, broken only by jagged mountain ranges and the occasional flicker of neon-lit fortresses rising from the ground. The world is alive, alive with danger, mystery, and the promise of freedom. And yet it feels wrong. The air is still. The planet whispers, but no one can hear it except those who dare to listen. "We made it." Jax's voice is a mix of awe and disbelief. But Reyes doesn't share in that awe. He's been to enough worlds to know that no planet is ever truly untouched. No place is ever truly free. And Exile Prime, it's hiding something. They don't know it yet, but the battle for Exile Prime has already begun, and it's a war that will tear everything apart. Reyes stares at the horizon, watching the fleets behind him make their descent, each ship carrying hopes of salvation, or the seeds of destruction. He doesn't know which yet, but he knows this. Survival on Exile Prime will cost them everything. Chapter 2. A World of Wolves. The descent into the atmosphere of Exile Prime feels like falling through the very fabric of space itself. Reyes grips the helm of the Iron Requiem, his knuckles white with tension as the ship cuts through the atmosphere, leaving a trail of glowing fire behind. Below, the barren landscape stretches in every direction, vast and uninviting, broken only by the remnants of ancient ruins and long-abandoned outposts. Exile Prime is a world that has forgotten time. It's a planet of extremes, where the scorching heat of the desert meets the frigid cold of the mountains, and cities that should never have been built rise in defiance of the wild, unforgiving terrain. It's a place where survival isn't just a choice but a way of life. The iron requiem cuts through the air like a knife, its battered hull shaking with the strain of re-entry. Reyes doesn't take his eyes off the view outside. He's seen countless worlds, each one a different shade of hell, but there's something about Exile Prime that chills him deep in his bones. Something beneath the surface, something alive. I've been to some rough places, Kara mutters from behind him, her voice filled with disbelief. But this is something else. Stay sharp, Reyes replies, his voice low and steady. This place isn't like the others. Ahead of them, the Black Spire, the largest city on the planet, comes into view. It's a fortress of steel and concrete that rises from the wastelands like a monument to mankind's last defiance. The spires are jagged, dark against the burning horizon, and the air around the city seems to hum with a strange energy. The sight of it sends a shiver through Reyes, though he doesn't admit it aloud. As the ship descends toward a landing pad just outside the city's edge, Reyes' thoughts turn to Leah Valkaris, the former rebel general turned arms dealer. She's the reason they've come here, the one person who might know what's truly going on beneath the surface of this forsaken world. If anyone can help them understand the strange power pulsing beneath Exile Prime, it's Leah. The iron requiem touches, down with a soft jolt. The landing pad is barely big enough to accommodate the ship, and Reyes can see figures moving in the distance, shadowy forms watching them. There's no welcome party, no outstretched arms of hospitality. This is Exile Prime, the land of wolves, where the strong survive and the weak perish. Stay low, keep your weapons ready, Reyes orders as he powers down the ship and opens the hatch. The crew steps out into the thick, acrid air. The temperature is a brutal 150 degrees under the scorching sun. Dust rises from the cracked earth, swirling in the wind like ghosts of the past. There's something unsettling about the quietness of it all, the silence that hangs over everything, broken only by the occasional distant scream or the hum of something unseen. Leah should be here soon, Reyes hopes. But Exile Prime doesn't care about hopes. Exile Prime takes. As the crew moves through the desolate landscape toward the city, a strange tension builds in the air. The Black Spire looms ahead, a monument to everything that Exile Prime is, gritty, violent, and alive with an undercurrent of danger. It's a city where everything has a price and no one is above the law, because there is no law. Just power, and power, Reyes knows, can be bought. As they approach the gates, the towering walls of Black Spire come into sharper view. They are made of scraps and remnants of ancient warships, debris from battles fought and forgotten. The gates are guarded by mercenaries, heavily armed and scanning the horizon with suspicion. Their eyes flick to Reyes and his crew, but there's no recognition, not yet. Reyes raises a hand, signaling for the crew to pause. He steps forward, his boots crunching on the gravel as he approaches the guards. One of them, a grizzled man with an eye patch, eyes him warily. "What do you want?" The guard demands, his voice rough like gravel being crushed underfoot. "You lost." "I'm here to see someone," Reyes replies evenly, his gaze unwavering. "Leah Valkaris," the guard scoffs. "You and everyone else. But I'm not the one you need to talk to, scavenger. Leah's no saint. She's a deal maker, not a savior. If you've got something worth trading, you might get her attention. If not, you'll be left out in the sand." Reyes' eyes narrow. He's heard the rumors about Leah, about how she used to be a general in the rebellion, a warrior who fought for a cause she believed in. But here on Exile Prime, everyone's out for themselves. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and the strong take whatever they want. "I've got something," Reyes says, pulling a small, sleek data core from his jacket. He watches the guard's eyes flicker to it, then back to him. "Something that'll change everything." The guard hesitates, his grip tightening on the rifle slung across his shoulder. The decision is clear in his eyes. This is no ordinary smuggler. The data core, though unmarked, carries secrets. The kind of secrets that can shift the balance of power on a world like this. The guard steps aside, finally nodding. "You've got 5 minutes to get inside. Don't make me regret this," with that Reyes and his crew are ushered through the gates of Black Spire into the heart of the city. Inside, the streets are alive with the chaos of mercenaries, traders, and criminals. Neon signs flash overhead, promising anything for the right price. A chorus of voices fills the air, bartering, shouting, laughing. But under it all is the undeniable hum of violence waiting to burst at the seams. Reyes doesn't have time to enjoy the chaos. The clock is ticking. They need to find Leah, and they need to do it fast. Because there are others here, others who want what they have. And in a city like this, there's no room for friends. Chapter 3. The Devourer's Hand. The heat of Exile Prime presses in, an oppressive weight that suffocates everything it touches. Even the night, though cooler, is thick with the dust and the scent of decay. Black Spire lies beneath a blanket of neon haze and dark shadows. A sprawling labyrinth of dirt roads, makeshift markets, and fortified compounds. Reyes and his crew walk through the streets, each step bringing them deeper into the underbelly of the city, where danger lingers like a predator watching its prey. They make their way toward the heart of the city, the Red Serpent, an ancient bar that serves as the meeting ground for anyone desperate or dangerous enough to survive here. This is where Leah Valkyries has set up shop, a place where deals are struck in whispers, and loyalty is bought with blood. Reyes's boots click against the cracked pavement, his thoughts a whirl of uncertainty. What exactly is Leah's role in all of this? The data core they've been carrying since they left the Iron Requiem holds more than just military secrets. It holds coordinates to something buried beneath Exile Prime. Something alive. The rumors swirling around the planet suggest that it's more than just an old relic or lost technology. This is something ancient and deadly. As they near the Red Serpent, Reyes can feel it. The pull of something dark, hidden just beneath the surface. It's not just the weight of the planet that makes the air so thick, it's something else. Something watching. He can't shake the feeling that they are not alone. They enter the bar and the noise hits them immediately. The low murmur of conversation, the clinking of glasses, the sounds of a dozen different species mingling in the haze of cigarette smoke and the stench of alcohol. It's the kind of place where you don't ask too many questions and don't trust anyone, not even your own shadow. At the far corner of the bar sits Leah Valkyries, her presence undeniable even before you see her. A former rebel general, she's turned into something else in this forsaken city. An arms dealer, a fixer, a power broker. Her long dark hair falls in waves around her shoulders, and her eyes, sharp and calculating, never stop scanning the room. Reyes approaches her, his gaze steady, but his nerves tingling with the same unease he felt earlier. She's surrounded by a few bodyguards, but Leah doesn't seem threatened. She's always in control, always calculating her next move before anyone else even knows the game has started. Voss. Leah's voice is cold, but there's a hint of familiarity in it, and old respect, perhaps. Didn't think I'd see you again. Thought you were too busy getting yourself killed on the run. Reyes smirks, settling into the seat across from her. I'm good at staying alive. Long enough to see you again. Leah doesn't smile. Her eyes flicker to his crew, then back to him. She already knows why he's here. The data core, the coordinates. She knows it all. I assume you didn't come all this way just to chat, she says, her voice tinged with something dangerous. What's in the core? Reyes reaches into his jacket and places the small device on the table between them. The faint hum of its data pulse fills the air, barely audible, but it's enough to make the guards shift uncomfortably. Leah's eyes narrow as she takes it in, studying it for a long moment before reaching out to touch it. The second her fingers make contact, the device flares to life, projecting holographic coordinates into the air. Leah's eyes widen as she watches the map form. This, she whispers, more to herself than anyone else. I thought it was just a legend. A legend? Kara, standing behind Reyes, leans forward, her voice filled with curiosity. What do you mean? Leah's gaze flicks back to the crew, a flicker of something, fear, perhaps, crossing her features before she quickly masks it with cold professionalism. You've stumbled onto something more than you realize. These coordinates, they lead to something beneath the surface of Exile Prime, something far older than the ruins that dot the planet. It's alive, and it's been waiting for centuries. Reyes feels a chill wash over him. He's heard rumors, of course. Everyone on Exile Prime has their own version of the stories, the whispers of an ancient power buried deep beneath the planet. Some say it's a weapon, others say it's a god, and a few even claim it's the remnant of an extinct race. But what Leah's saying, it's different. What is it? Reyes asks, his voice low, his instincts screaming that he doesn't want to know the answer. Leah doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she picks up the data core again, staring at it with a mixture of awe and fear. The Devourer's hand, she murmurs. The cult that's been watching Exile Prime for centuries. They've been waiting for this moment. And now, the coordinates you hold, they will lead them right to it. At the mention of the cult, a shiver runs down Reyes' spine. He's heard stories about the Devourer's hand, a secretive group of zealots, fanatics who believe in the resurrection of something dark and ancient beneath Exile Prime. There's never been any solid proof that they exist beyond the whispers of the more dangerous elements of the planet, but hearing Leah speak of them with such certainty makes everything feel far too real. The Devourer's hand, Reyes repeats, his tone incredulous. They've been hiding down here all this time, and now they want what's buried beneath the planet? Leah's eyes meet his, and for a moment, there's a flicker of something haunting in her gaze. It's worse than that. They don't just want it, they need it. And when they find it, Exile Prime will be nothing more than a battleground. They'll use what's down there to bring about something terrible, something unstoppable. Reyes leans back in his chair, his mind racing. The stakes are higher than he thought. The planet they came to for sanctuary is now a ticking time bomb, and it's clear that the Devourer's hand is only the beginning of the nightmare waiting to unfold. Before he can speak again, the bar door bursts open, and a group of cyber ravagers storms in, violent, armed, and ready to claim whatever they can. Their leader, a hulking figure with glowing red eyes and a jagged scar across his face, strides toward their table. His voice is low and guttural as he growls, "Leah Valkaris, you've got something that belongs to us." Leah doesn't even flinch. "I don't have anything that belongs to you," she says coldly. "But if you're looking for a fight, I'm happy to oblige." The tension in the room thickens like a storm cloud, and Reyes can feel the weight of the moment settling on him. The cyber ravagers are here for the same reason he is, the data core. But this time, they're not here for trade. They're here for blood. Without warning, the room erupts into chaos. The cyber ravagers open fire, their guns spewing plasma, but the crew is ready. Kara moves with lightning speed, drawing her weapon and returning fire. Reyes pulls out his blaster, his senses heightened, his instincts honed from years of surviving in places like this. The firefight is intense, but it's over quickly. The cyber ravagers are dead, and the bar is a wreck. Reyes stands over their bodies, his breath heavy, his heart pounding. The data core, still intact, lies safely in his hands. But the price of survival just went up. Leah stands calmly, untouched, watching the chaos unfold. "This is Exile Prime," she says, her voice grim. "Here, everyone has a price, and right now your price is about to get a whole lot higher." Chapter 4. The eyes of the beast, the sound of gunfire still echoes in Reyes' ears as he steps over the bodies of the cyber ravagers. The bar, once a place of chaos and noise, is now a graveyard of flashing lights and scattered debris. The crew is tense, but they've all been through worse. Survival is second nature, but there's something about this place, something in the air that keeps Reyes' instincts on high alert. Leah Valkaris doesn't look bothered by the carnage. She watches as the last of the bodies are dragged out, her face as impassive as ever. It's as if violence is just another part of the landscape here, a force that can't be avoided. "Nice work," Leah finally says, breaking the silence as she surveys the wreckage. "Though I'd have preferred it if you hadn't drawn attention so quickly. Exile Prime's full of hungry wolves, and they'll start sniffing around sooner than you think. Reyes nods, his mind still focused on the bigger picture. The data core in his hand pulses softly, almost like a heartbeat. His thoughts swirl around the information they've just uncovered. The Devourer's hand is far more than a cult. Its followers are obsessed, and they'll stop at nothing to get what's buried beneath Exile Prime. But why? What exactly are they after? I didn't come here for a fight, Reyes says, his voice steady, but his gaze never leaves Leah's. But I don't like the way things are going. I need answers, now. Leah meets his gaze, her sharp eyes glinting with something hidden, something dangerous. If you want answers, you're going to have to be ready to face the truth. Not just the pretty part you think you know. She motions toward the back of the bar, and Reyes follows her, his crew in tow. They pass through a narrow corridor that smells of old alcohol and stale air, finally coming to a door that leads to a hidden room, a place far more secure than the main bar. This is where the real business happens, the kind of business that could cost you more than just your life. Inside, the atmosphere changes. The room is dimly lit, lined with screens flashing endless streams of data, some in alien languages, others in code too complex for anyone but Leah to understand. There's a large holomap projected in the center, its surface flickering with the coordinates of various locations around the planet. It looks like a web, intricate and tangled, but there's one spot on it that keeps blinking, bright red like a warning sign. Leah gestures toward the map. You want answers? Here's what I can give you. She taps a button and the red spot expands, revealing a network of caves deep beneath the surface of Exile Prime, a set of ancient ruins, long hidden away, and something even more disturbing, energy. Readings pulsing from within the depths. Reyes steps closer, his eyes narrowing at the readout. What are those? Leah's voice is low, as though she's treading carefully. This isn't just a planet, Reyes. Exile Prime is a containment, a prison. It was built over something that should have stayed buried. The energy readings? They're coming from something older than the Devourer's hand, older than anything you've ever seen. That's what they're trying to unleash. The Devourer's curse. Reyes' stomach tightens at the mention of the curse. He's heard the name, whispered in the darkest corners of the galaxy, but no one ever spoke of it openly, at least not anyone who wanted to live. The curse isn't just a myth. It's the stuff of nightmares, a being, a force, something ancient that has been sealed beneath the planet for millennia, waiting for the right moment to rise again. Is this a weapon? Kara asks, her voice filled with dread as she leans in, studying the map. Leah shakes her head. No, it's far worse than a weapon. The Devourer's curse isn't just a force of destruction. It's an entity, a god. And the Devourer's hand believes that once it's freed, they'll wield its power to reshape the galaxy. Reyes' blood runs cold. If what Leah is saying is true, then Exile Prime isn't just a sanctuary. It's a ticking time bomb. And the clock is already ticking. They're already moving, aren't they? Reyes says, his voice barely above a whisper. Leah doesn't need to answer. The look on her face tells him everything he needs to know. The Devourer's hand isn't just waiting for the coordinates to align. They've been preparing for this moment for centuries. There's no time to waste, Reyes adds, his tone firm. We need to find it first before they do. Leah looks at him for a long moment, her gaze unreadable. You think you can just walk in and grab it before they do? You'll be eaten alive down there. The Devourer's curse doesn't just let anyone in. It tests you. It makes you prove you're worthy. We don't have a choice, Reyes says, his mind already racing through the plan in his head. If we let them get to it first, everything ends. Leah shrugs, unfazed by his determination. Your best bet is to find someone who knows the way inside. The old ones. They're the only ones who've seen the entrance and lived to tell the tale. Reyes raises an eyebrow. The old ones? Not a myth, Reyes, Leah replies with a smirk. I told you the truth was uglier than you think. The old ones are the last of an ancient order that served as the guardians of the Devourer's curse. They've been hiding for centuries, but they're still out there. If you can find them, they might lead you to the entrance. And if they don't, Kara asks, her hand resting on the hilt of her weapon. Then you'll have to fight your way through, Leah answers flatly, as though it's a matter of course. This isn't a place for the weak, and the closer you get to the core, the deadlier it gets. Reyes doesn't flinch. Deadly has always been the game. It's why he's alive. And now, for the first time since landing on Exile Prime, he feels the familiar pull of adrenaline, the thrill of a hunt, the rush of being on the verge of something big. This is it, he says, looking at Leah, then at the map. We find the old ones, get to the core before the cult does, and stop the Devourer's curse from being unleashed. You're looking at a war, Reyes, Leah warns, her expression hardening. And the odds are against you. The old ones are buried deep in the wilds of Exile Prime. No one knows exactly where. But if you want to survive, you better start preparing. Reyes nods. There's no turning back now. The galaxy is already at war. Exile Prime is the final battleground. And the Devourer's curse is the enemy that will make everything else seem small. Chapter 5. The Old Ones. The air inside the hidden safe house is stale, thick with the scent of damp stone and aged equipment. Reyes's crew stands in a loose circle, their eyes on the map that flickers in front of them. The faint glow of the holographic coordinates casts sharp shadows on their faces, giving the room an eerie, almost predatory feel. Exile Prime's wastelands stretch out beyond their reach, an endless horizon of desolation. But it's the path beneath the surface that holds their focus now. The path that leads to the Old Ones, the last hope for stopping the Devourer's curse. The task ahead isn't just about finding these ancient guardians. It's about surviving what's out there. Exile Prime is a planet of contradictions. Its surface is a war-torn wasteland, while beneath it lies a labyrinth of ancient ruins, secret tunnels, and a history buried too deep to ever be fully understood. Reyes looks at the crew, his gaze hard, the weight of what they're about to do settling heavily on his shoulders. We're not just hunting for coordinates anymore, he says, his voice steady, but tinged with the gravity of what's at stake. We're hunting for a legend, the last of an order that held the keys to a power we can't even comprehend. And if we don't find them first, everything we've worked for will be for nothing. Kara steps forward, her usual calm demeanor now threaded with an edge of apprehension. And if the Old Ones don't want to be found, or worse, if they've already gone, Reyes shakes his head, his lips tightening. Then we do what we always do. We adapt, we fight, we survive. Leah stands to the side, arms crossed, watching. The tension grow in the room. If you're expecting me to hold your hand through this, Reyes, you're sorely mistaken. I've given you everything I know. The Old Ones are a shadow now. They don't make their presence known, and they sure as hell don't welcome outsiders. If they were ever going to help, they would have done it long before now. So we're just supposed to track them down in the wilds? Kara asks. That's a whole planet's worth of land to search. Leah's lips curl into a knowing smile. It's not just the wilds. Exile Prime's lands are alive, or rather they used to be. The Old Ones don't leave any trace unless they want you to find them. That's why no one has ever gotten close. But I know a way, a hidden passage into the old ruins buried in the wastes. From there, it's anyone's guess. Reyes's mind races as he absorbs the information. And if we find them, what happens then? Leah's eyes flash with an unreadable emotion and she looks at the floor for a moment. Then you better hope they're in a good mood. With that cryptic answer, Leah sets off to prepare for the Wag. She gathers supplies, her movements swift and precise, as if the path to the Old Ones is a familiar one. Reyes knows better than to ask questions about her past. Everyone on Exile Prime has a history, and none of them are worth exploring if you want to stay alive. The crew's preparations are intense. They gather weapons, rations, and whatever tech they can salvage from the wreckage of Black Spire. The tension in the air is palpable. There's no room for error. If they fail, Exile Prime will fall under the control of the Devourer's hand, and the ancient power beneath the planet will be unleashed, leaving nothing but ruin in its wake. As night falls, they set out from the city. The landscape quickly shifts from the oppressive, smoke-choked streets of Black Spire to the desolate expanse of the wastes. The ground is cracked and scarred, dotted with the remains of long-forgotten buildings and the wreckage of ships that never made it. The wind howls across the barren horizon, and the night sky looms heavy and dark, as if watching them with silent, judging eyes. They travel in silence for hours, the only sounds being the crunch of their boots on the rocky terrain and the distant whine of scavengers in the air. Kara stays close to Reyes, her hand never straying too far from her weapon. They've all been in the wilds before, but never like this. This is new territory, and it feels different, unsettling, like the very planet itself is aware of their presence. Leah, leading the way, suddenly stops, her eyes scanning the horizon. "We're getting close," she murmurs. "Stay sharp, Reyes." Feels it too. The air has changed, becoming thick and oppressive. There's a heavy stillness now, as if the world is holding its breath. The wilds of Exile Prime aren't just a landscape. They're a living, breathing thing. And whatever lies ahead, it doesn't want them there. They reach the entrance to an ancient cavern system, hidden beneath a mound of rubble. The opening is barely visible, cloaked in shadow, but Leah knows exactly where to go. As they step inside, the temperature drops immediately, the chill of the underground seeping into their bones. The passage is narrow and winding, a series of twisting tunnels that seem to have been carved out by something other than natural forces. The walls are lined with strange symbols, old and worn but still alive with energy. The deeper they go, the more oppressive the air becomes. Reyes feels his skin crawl as if something is watching them, waiting. Every step echoes in the silence, reverberating off the walls, but there's no sound in return. No whispers of movement, just the slow drip of water and the occasional scrape of rock against metal. "We're not alone," Kara says softly, her hand tightening on her blaster. "Don't make a sound," Leah orders, her voice barely above, a whisper. The old ones are silent for a reason. They continue onward, passing through a labyrinth of narrow tunnels, winding their way deeper into the heart of Exile Prime's forgotten past. Every corner they turn feels like it could be their last, but still, they press on, driven by the knowledge that only the old ones can show them the way to the heart of the planet, and to the power that could either save or destroy them all. Eventually, the tunnel opens up into a massive underground cavern. The ceiling is high, lost in the shadows above. Stalactites hang like jagged teeth, and the walls are covered in strange, glowing runes that pulse faintly, casting an eerie light over the vast expanse below. At the center of the cavern is an altar, a stone platform, worn by time but still. Standing strong and surrounding it, figures, silent, still, watching. The old ones. Their faces are covered by ceremonial masks, and their eyes gleam through the slits, ancient, eternal, as though they have been waiting for something. Waiting for them? Leah steps forward, her voice low and reverent. "We've come to seek your aid. The planet's fate is hanging by a thread." One of the figures steps forward, their movements fluid, almost predatory. The figure tilts its head, as if studying them, then speaks in a language that no one understands. But the meaning is clear. The trial has begun. Chapter 6. The Trial of the Old Ones. The air in the cavern feels alive, charged with an ancient energy that prickles Reyes' skin. His crew stands tense, each of them feeling the weight of the moment, the enormity of what they've just stepped into. The Old Ones, silent and unseen, remain gathered around the altar, their ceremonial masks like the faces of forgotten gods, watching them with eyes that gleam with an unsettling, knowing light. Leah steps forward, her posture rigid, but the deep breath she takes betrays her calm exterior. The Old Ones have no need for pleasantries. There are no introductions, no words of greeting. This is not a place for diplomacy. This is a place for tests. One of the Old Ones, a towering figure cloaked in runes, raises a hand, and in an instant, the cavern is bathed in a strange, soft glow. The symbols etched into the stone walls pulse in time with the light, and the temperature drops even further. Reyes feels it deep in his chest, a coldness that seems to reach all the way to his bones. It's as if the very air is laden with memories, ancient and long buried, pressing in from all sides. The figure's voice, when it comes, is low, its words hollow, echoing in the cavern like the voice of the past itself. Who dares disturb the slumber of Exile Prime's guardians? Leah steps forward, her expression unchanging. I seek your knowledge. The Devourer's curse threatens this world, and the galaxy with it. We need your help to stop it. The Old One tilts its head slightly as if considering her words. There's a long silence that stretches on, and Reyes feels a cold sweat forming on his brow. He knows this is not going to be easy. The Old Ones do not owe them anything, and their motivations are as obscure as the ruins that house them. Another Old One, this one smaller but equally imposing, speaks next, its voice drifting through the air like smoke. Knowledge comes at a price. Reyes steps forward, his pulse quickening. We're willing to pay whatever it takes, he says, his voice steady, though he feels the weight of the words. The price for the knowledge of the Old Ones has always been high, and nothing comes without consequence. But the Old Ones are unmoved. They stand motionless, their eyes burning with that ancient knowing fire, like they've seen countless souls come and go, seeking answers that were never meant to be given. Leah exchanges a look with Reyes, but her expression hardens, determination written in the lines of her face. She knows what they're dealing with. Tell us what we need to do. She speaks the words with the same unwavering certainty that they've carried through every battle they've fought. But there's something different in her voice now, a hint of desperation, like she knows they are nearing the edge of a precipice. One of the Old Ones finally moves, a slow, deliberate motion. It lifts its hand, and the cavern begins to rumble, the ground trembling beneath their feet. A low, resonant hum fills the air, vibrating through the stone walls, shaking loose dust and debris from the ceiling. A glowing symbol appears on the altar, its lines shifting like liquid fire, swirling and dancing, pulling Reyes's gaze. His stomach tightens. He recognizes it from the data core they retrieved, the same markings that appeared around the Devourer's curse. The figure speaks once more, its voice like the grinding of stones, old and worn. To unlock the path to the power you seek, you must first pass through the trial of truth. Only those who are worthy may walk the path of the ancients. Fail, and your soul will be lost to the abyss. The Old One's words sink deep into Reyes's mind like a weight that pulls him down. He exchanges a quick glance with his crew, each of them knowing exactly what those words mean. There's no turning back now. Leah steps forward once more, eyes never leaving the figure that spoke. What is the trial of truth? The Old One raises a hand, and the glowing symbol on the altar flares brightly, casting long shadows across the cavern. It's almost mesmerizing, the way the runes pulse with an otherworldly rhythm. For a moment it feels like time itself has stopped. The trial of truth is not a test of strength, but of soul. You must face your deepest fears, confront your darkest desires, and prove that you have the will to sacrifice for the greater good. The path is dangerous, for only the pure of heart may pass through. The rest will be consumed. A cold shiver runs down Reyes's spine. The trial of truth isn't a test of physical ability. It's something deeper. The Old Ones don't care about how fast they can shoot or how many enemies they've taken down. They care about something far more personal. The price for the knowledge they seek may not just be physical. It could be the very soul of the one who dares seek it. We are ready, Reyes says, though his voice betrays a hint of uncertainty. He knows the stakes. But there's no other option. They can't afford to fail. The Old One's eyes glow brighter like burning embers. Its gaze pierces through them, stripping away any pretense, leaving them exposed in ways they never thought possible. For a moment there's silence, and then the cavern shifts. The ground cracks open, and the world around them seems to collapse into a chasm of light. Reyes's heart races as the ground beneath them begins to disintegrate, the air thick with energy, and they're all pulled forward, into the trial. A voice booms around them, deep and resonant, reverberating off the walls of the cavern, shaking the very air they breathe. Step forward, chosen ones, the trial begins. Your truth awaits. Will you face it, or will you be lost to the void? With no choice left, Reyes leads the crew forward into the unknown. The air is thick with the weight of the trial, and the path ahead feels like an endless abyss. They must prove themselves, or they will be lost forever in the depths of Exile Prime, victims of the trial's cruel test. The ground beneath their feet shifts, and each step they take feels as though it's moving them closer to something far darker, far more dangerous than they can imagine. But they have no choice. The Devourer's curse, the power beneath Exile Prime, is waiting, and the galaxy's last hope rests on the trial of truth. Chapter 7. The Trial of Faces. The ground shifts beneath Reyes's boots, and for a moment everything seems to tremble as though the very earth is alive, reacting to the intrusion of those who dare face the trial of truth. The dark abyss opens up. Before them, an endless expanse of swirling light and shadow, a strange energy that seems to stretch out infinitely. The cavern that once felt like a sacred hall now feels like a prison. The walls seem to close in on them, the air thick with an oppressive weight that grows heavier with every step. "Stay close," Reyes whispers to Kara, Leah, and the rest of the crew. His voice feels strange in the stillness, as if the cavern itself is absorbing the sound. The moment they move forward, the ground beneath them shifts again, sending ripples of energy through the floor. The temperature drops even further, and the familiar hum of the cavern now takes on a deeper, more resonant tone. The darkness around them deepens, swallowing everything in sight until there's nothing but the faint glow of runes that pulse at the edges of their vision. They feel like they're being pulled into the very heart of Exile Prime's secret, deeper than anyone has ever gone. A voice echoes, soft but loud enough to make the air hum. The trial of faces begins. Reyes freezes, his heart skipping a beat. The voice doesn't come from anywhere specific. It surrounds them, reverberating in their minds, in their souls, like the whispers of ghosts long forgotten. "What does that mean?" Kara asks, her voice tight, her hand on her weapon, ready for whatever comes next. But Leah, who's stepped forward with a practiced calmness, shakes her head. "The trial of faces," she says softly, her voice barely above a murmur. "It's the trial of self, the trial of your past, your choices, your regrets. It forces you to face your darkest secrets, the ones you've buried deep. The old ones. Never say much about it, but everyone who's ever taken the trial has left something behind." Reyes's pulse quickens. He feels something stirring within him, something ancient, pulling at his very being. There's no turning back now, not after everything they've already sacrificed. They are already too deep into the heart of the planet, and if they don't face the trial, they won't be able to fulfill their mission. The galaxy, Exile Prime, everything will be lost. Without warning, the ground beneath them shifts once again, this time more violently. A flash of light erupts in front of them, too bright to look at, and when it fades, they find themselves standing in a different place. The cavern has disappeared, and now they stand in a familiar, unsettling landscape. The air feels thick, heavy, charged with an intensity that makes their hearts race. The ground is cracked, covered in jagged stones, as if the entire surface had been ravaged by something long past. It takes Reyes a moment to realize where they are. "Is this the Outlands?" Kara asks, her voice shaky. The desolate landscape around them matches the ruined world they had once fought to survive in, a place that haunts their past. "Yes," Leah answers, her voice low. "It's a memory. This is a place from our past, from before." As the words leave her mouth, a figure steps forward from the swirling mist that has begun to form around them. It is Reyes, but not the Reyes they know. This version of him is younger, dressed in the battle-worn uniform of a soldier, eyes sharp, filled with that same determination that fueled his early days of rebellion. Reyes takes a step back, heart hammering in his chest. This is not just a vision, it's a confrontation. The trial is forcing him to face the very thing he's tried to bury, the choices he made when he was young, reckless, and willing to sacrifice everything for the cause. "Do you remember this place?" the younger version of himself asks, his voice calm but filled with something deeper. Regret? Anger? Sorrow? Reyes swallows hard, fighting to keep his voice steady. "I remember it," he says, his voice rough. "But I've moved on. I'm not that person anymore." The figure in front of him smiles, but it's not a comforting smile. It's filled with a deep, knowing bitterness. "You've never truly moved on, Reyes. You've buried your past, locked it away, but it's still here. You can never escape it." The landscape around them warps, and suddenly the memory shifts. They're no longer standing in the Outlands. They're in the heart of Black Spire, the war-torn city that had been a battleground for countless conflicts. It's the last place Reyes ever wanted to return to, the place where he lost everything. Everything. Figures begin to materialize around him, shadows of those he's lost. Friends, lovers, soldiers. They all stare at him, their eyes accusing, their mouths moving, in silent whispers, but they aren't truly there. They're ghosts of his past, the faces of people whose deaths still haunt him. The younger Reyes's voice echoes again, this time more insistent. "Look at them, Reyes. These are the people you abandoned. These are the lives you sacrificed for the sake of your cause." Reyes feels his chest tighten, his heart pounding in his ears. He reaches out, but the figures fade like mist, slipping through his fingers. The faces, once so familiar, are gone. Only the weight of their accusations remains. "You think you can change the past? You think you can just move on?" the voice mocks. "The cost of your decisions never disappears. It follows you. It's a debt you'll never pay." A wave of guilt crashes over him. The faces of the fallen, the memories of the battles he fought, too many to count. And it's all coming to the surface now. The truth he's hidden from himself. The ground beneath him quakes once more, and he's no longer standing alone. His crew is with him, but they too are facing their own versions of the trial. Kara stands before a vision of her brother, dead on a distant battlefield, her eyes wide, with the same shock she had felt the day she lost him. Leah stands alone in the ruins of the old rebel stronghold, confronting the betrayal of a past she'd tried to forget. In the middle of this chaos, the voice of the old one calls out to them, a deep, reverberating sound that stirs something primal. In their souls, the trial of faces is not a punishment, it is a revelation. Only by confronting the truth within yourselves can you move forward. Only those who accept their past can face the future. Reyes's chest tightens, his fists clenching. He doesn't want to face this. He doesn't want to be vulnerable, to show his weaknesses. But the trial isn't about physical strength. It's about facing what he's buried deep inside. His own truth. A shadow looms over him. It's his own reflection, staring back at him with eyes full of pain. The man he was, the man he could still be if he doesn't make peace with the choices he's made. Reyes closes his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. He can feel the presence of his crew standing beside him, each of them facing their own versions of the past. He knows that to pass this trial, to move forward, he has to accept everything. The sacrifices, the mistakes, the losses. They are part of who he is. With that, Reyes opens his eyes, his resolve hardening. "I can't change what's been done," he says, his voice strong. "But I can choose what comes next." And as he speaks those words, the visions of the past begin to fade, the air growing lighter, the weight lifting from his shoulders. The trial of faces is not over yet, but this step, this moment, has brought him one step closer to the answers they seek. Chapter 8. The Heart of the Curse. The air around them crackles with energy as they step deeper into the heart of Exile Prime, the very core of the planet itself. After surviving the trial of faces, Reyes and his crew now stand at the edge of the known. The ruins around them are ancient, older than anything they've ever seen, but the power here feels different. It pulses with a darkness that seems to seep into their very bones. Reyes looks around, the weight of their journey heavy on his shoulders. The air feels thick, almost tangible, like it's alive. It presses down on them as if the planet itself is watching, waiting for them to make the next move. "Do you feel that?" Leah whispers, her eyes scanning the walls. "There's something in the stone. A pattern, a rhythmic pulse that's almost hypnotic." "I do," Reyes mutters, his voice low. "It's the curse. It's been here for eons, hidden beneath Exile Prime's surface, and now we're standing in its heart." The ground beneath them trembles slightly, and for a moment they're frozen in place, as if the planet itself is reacting to their presence. The strange glow that surrounds them grows stronger, and in the distance, a deep hum fills the air. It's an unsettling sound, like the beating of a heart, a slow, ominous rhythm. They've come this far, but the curse, the Devourer's curse, is still a mystery to them. The records they recovered speak of its origins, of an ancient force that was sealed away long ago by the old ones, but the details are vague. And now, standing on the edge of its resting place, Reyes can feel it, a presence that is ancient, hungry, and filled with rage. "We need to find the source," Kara says, her voice steady, despite the unease that radiates from her. "If we don't destroy it, Exile Prime, the galaxy, everything will fall." Reyes nods. He knows she's right. The curse must be contained before it can be unleashed upon the universe. But as they move forward, the path ahead grows darker, more twisted. The stone walls begin to shift and change, the markings on them seeming to move of their own accord, almost as if the curse itself is reacting to their presence. "What is this place?" Leah murmurs, her voice filled with awe. "These markings, they're not just runes, it's a language, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Reyes approaches the wall, running his fingers over the intricate patterns. The stone beneath his touch seems to hum, a faint vibration coursing through him. The words, though foreign, seem to resonate with something deep within him, a pull he can't explain, but it's undeniable. "These runes, they're warnings," he says, his voice almost reverent. "They speak of the curse, of a force that was locked away here, beneath Exile Prime's surface. The Devourer is a prison, but also a power, one that cannot be allowed to escape." Leah's expression hardens. "So, we're not just dealing with some ancient artifact. We're standing on top of a time bomb." Reyes meets her gaze, and for a moment he sees the same determination that he's carried through every battle, every mission. They've come too far to turn back now. Before they can say anything more, the ground trembles violently. A low, guttural rumble fills the air, and the walls seem to ripple as if something is awakening, something deep beneath the planet's crust. "The curse," Kara says, her voice urgent. "It's reacting to us. It knows we're here." Without warning, the stone floor splits open before them, revealing a massive chasm that leads down into the depths of the planet. From within the darkness, a strange light begins to pulse, bright, blinding, almost alive. Reyes stands at the edge of the chasm, his mind racing. He can feel the curse pulling at him, trying to draw him in, to twist his thoughts, but he cannot let it take hold. Not now. "Get ready," he says, his voice calm, but filled with authority. "This is it, we're going in." One by one they descend into the chasm, the walls of stone narrowing as they sink deeper into the heart of the planet. The light grows stronger, and the hum of the curse becomes deafening. It feels like the very air is alive with energy, the atmosphere pressing in on them from all sides. As they reach the bottom of the chasm, the air is thick with heat, a pulse of energy emanating from the center of the chamber. There, in the middle of the room, stands a massive obelisk, a dark, jagged structure that hums with power. It's surrounded by a pool of molten crimson energy, and at its base are the remnants of an ancient seal, now cracked and broken. "This is it," Leah says, her voice barely a whisper. "This is the source of the curse." Reyes steps forward, his hand brushing the surface of the obelisk. The moment his fingers make contact, the ground beneath them shakes violently, and a dark, sinister energy bursts from the obelisk. The room is filled with an ear-splitting screech, and for a moment, Reyes feels the power of the curse flooding into him, threatening to overwhelm his mind and soul. "Reyes, no!" Kara shouts, grabbing his arm, but he can't pull away. The curse has already begun to twist his thoughts, to fill his mind with the desires of the Devourer, its hunger for destruction, its thirst for power. Leah steps forward, her eyes blazing with determination. She pulls out a device from her pack, a small, ancient-looking relic that hums with energy. It's the only thing that can stop the curse, the only thing that can seal the obelisk once more. But as she steps closer, the energy from the obelisk flares and the entire chamber trembles. A massive shadow forms above them, rising from the molten pool, a twisted, nightmarish figure of smoke and fire. "The Devourer," Reyes mutters, his voice shaking as he watches the figure take form. It is more than just a curse. It is a being, an entity of pure destruction. The face is shapeless, a mass of shifting shadows, but the power it radiates is unmistakable. Leah throws the device toward the obelisk, but the shadow lunges forward, its form shifting and twisting in ways that defy logic. A blast of energy erupts from its form, sending the device spinning out of control. "No!" Reyes yells, snapping out of the curse's pull for just a moment. He lunges forward, pushing Leah out of the way, but the blast hits him square in the chest, sending him crashing into the wall. The shadow looms over them, a twisted, hungry force that threatens to devour everything. The air is thick with its power, the weight of it pushing down on them. Reyes struggles to rise, to fight back, but he can feel the curse trying to drag him back down, pulling at him with invisible hands. But then, through the chaos, he hears Leah's voice. She's not giving up. "We can still do this." She's already moving, her mind sharp, her movements calculated. She grabs the device from the floor and races toward the obelisk once again, determined to end the curse. Reyes can't stop her. He can barely keep his own footing. In that moment, he understands. This is the true trial, not just of the body, but of the spirit. They faced their pasts, but now they face the Devourer itself, and the only way to defeat it is together. Leah reaches the obelisk and slams the device into place. The entire chamber shudders as the device activates, a brilliant pulse of light blasting from it and into the obelisk. The curse shrieks, a sound that fills the room with agony, but the light grows stronger, blinding, until the Devourer's figure begins to dissolve, its form unraveling. But it's not over yet. With one final guttural roar, the Devourer's energy explodes, sending them flying backward. The air is thick with the scent of burning stone, and the room begins to collapse. "We have to get out." "Here," Reyes shouts, scrambling to his feet. As they race toward the exit, the ground continues to tremble, but they're not looking back. They've faced the heart of the curse, and now they must escape its reach, before it's too late. Chapter 9. The Final Storm. The air is thick with dust and heat as Reyes and his crew emerge from the heart of Exile Prime's cursed depths. Their clothes are scorched, their bodies bruised from the harrowing escape, but they are alive. And alive is a blessing in a place like this. "We did it," Kara says, her voice raw with exhaustion but filled with a mix of disbelief and triumph. She looks over at Reyes, her eyes bright. "The curse is contained. The planet should be safe." Reyes doesn't respond immediately. His thoughts are still caught in the whirlwind of their narrow escape. The Devourer's energy had almost consumed them all, but Leah had managed to activate the device in time. It was close, too close. "We can't celebrate just yet," Reyes says, his voice low. "The curse is contained, but the storm is far from over. If we don't get off this planet, Exile Prime won't be the only one to fall. The entire galaxy might." Leah, who had been silent for much of their journey, looks up from the jagged map in her hands, her brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean?" Reyes motions toward the sky above them. The once blue, clear atmosphere has darkened. Thunder rumbles in the distance, and the horizon is filled with swirling clouds. It's more than just a weather anomaly. There's a shift happening, something unnatural. The planet itself is reacting to their actions. The curse's power may be locked away for now, but The consequences are still unfolding. They're coming, Reyes mutters, clenching his fists. The factions, the warlords, the bounty hunters, they've been tracking us this whole time. The moment they learn the curse is contained, they'll try to seize the planet. The factions? Kara says with a raised brow. You think the warlords are still out there? Reyes doesn't look at her. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, his mind racing. There's more at stake than just Exile Prime. The factions are all fighting for the last uncharted world. They won't stop until they have it, until they control it. And now they know it's safe. What are we going to do? Leah asks, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. If they're coming, we can't just sit here and wait for them to strike first. Reyes turns to face her, his face hardening into a mask of resolve. We don't wait, we fight. The words feel final. There is no hesitation in his voice. They've come too far to stop now, but the road ahead won't be easy. The storm outside is not just a symbol of nature's fury. It's a battle that's about to unfold, one that will determine the fate of Exile Prime and everyone within its reach. The crew quickly gathers their gear and begins to strategize. As the winds begin to whip around them, the dark clouds above begin to coalesce into a swirling, ominous storm. Reyes knows they don't have much time. The factions are gathering, and they'll stop at nothing to take control of Exile Prime. Kara leads the way as they make their way back toward their ship, the Tempest, parked just outside the ruins they had uncovered. The sound of the storm intensifies, and soon they're running to stay ahead of the growing chaos. The ground trembles beneath their feet, almost as if the planet itself is protesting their escape. We need to power up the Tempest, Kara shouts, over the wind. If we're going to outrun this storm, we need to be in the air, now. Reyes nods, his jaw clenched. We need to leave Exile Prime. The sooner we're out of range, the safer we'll be. I don't trust the storm, but I trust what's coming after it even less. The ship's engines roar to life as they board. The familiar hum of the Tempest a small comfort in the midst of the approaching chaos. But there's no time to relax. Reyes takes the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls. Despite the turmoil raging outside, hold tight, he says, his voice calm. It's going to be a rough ride. The Tempest lifts off from the surface of Exile Prime, rising above the turbulent landscape. The storm below them grows fiercer, dark clouds swirling in an unnatural spiral. Lightning crackles in the distance, illuminating the jagged mountain, peaks as the wind howls against the ship's hull. Kara watches the view from the rear window, her face tense. This isn't just a storm, Reyes, she says. It's as if the planet itself is rejecting us. It's like it's alive. I know, Reyes says. Exile Prime has always been more than just a place. It's a force in its own right. Alive. In ways we can't fully understand. But the storm is more than natural weather. It's the planet's final act of resistance. They fly higher, cutting through the cloud layers, the storm growing fiercer as they ascend. The ship shudders under the strain of the wind, but Reyes keeps his focus, maneuvering the Tempest as the storm presses against them, a physical manifestation of the chaos now engulfing the planet. We're not just escaping the storm, are we? Leah asks, her voice low. Reyes looks over at her, his eyes narrowing. No, we're escaping the warlords, the bounty hunters, the entire factions that have been waiting for this moment. Exile Prime might be the last safe haven, but it won't stay that way for long. As if on cue, a bright flash lights up the eye. Sky ahead, followed by the telltale hum of enemy ships entering their radar. They've been tracked. The factions are here. Shit, Kara mutters. Time to move, get ready for a fight. The Tempest jerks as enemy fire hits the ship's shields, sending a shockwave through the cockpit. Reyes grips the controls tighter, his eyes scanning the radar. The incoming ships are closing in fast, and there's no way to outrun them without a fight. Brace yourselves, Reyes warns, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding. We're going to have to take them out before we can escape. Suddenly, a burst of fire shoots past the ship, narrowly missing them, and then another. It's only a matter of seconds before the storm of enemy ships converges. a fleet of warlords and mercenaries hungry for Exile Prime's riches. Reyes slams his foot onto the thrusters, the Tempest surging forward as it speeds away from the battle. He weaves through enemy fire, his hands moving in an almost practiced dance as he dodges and counterattacks. From the rear view, Kara and Leah open fire, returning shots at the attacking ships as they pull away. The sky is filled with explosions, a blinding spectacle of fire and destruction. Reyes' heart pounds in his chest, adrenaline coursing through him. This is the fight they've been waiting for, the final stand for Exile Prime. The Warlords won't give up without a fight, but neither will Reyes and his crew. As the Tempest breaks through the storm clouds, Reyes punches in coordinates for a jump, a desperate attempt to break free from the factions. The lights on the console flash as the hyperdrive begins to power up. But the storm, no, the battle, is still raging behind them. It's not over yet. With a final push, the Tempest jumps into hyperspace, the galaxy stretching out into a long streak of stars as they escape the chaos behind them. But even as they leave Exile Prime's storm-filled atmosphere, Reyes knows that their mission is far from over. "They'll come after us," Reyes says quietly, looking at the crew, his voice resolute. "The factions won't stop, not until they get what they want." Kara nods, a grim smile on her lips. "And neither will we." Chapter 10. A New Hope. The stars streak past the windows of the Tempest as the ship speeds through the vast emptiness of space, the storm of Exile Prime now far behind them. The chaos, the danger, the curses, they feel distant, but not enough to ease the weight of what lies ahead. The galaxy may have been spared for now, but the warlords, bounty hunters, and mercenaries are still out there. Exile Prime may have been their safe haven for a brief moment, but its secrets are far from buried. Reyes sits alone in the cockpit, his hands gripping the controls, his mind racing. The final jump had been just that, a final escape from exile. Prime's grasp, but there's still a gnawing feeling in his chest, one that he can't shake. The curse, the factions, and now the path forward. How long can they run? "Hey, Reyes, you good?" Kara's voice crackles through the comms, interrupting his thoughts. He leans back, taking a deep breath. "I'm fine, Kara, just thinking." "We all are," she says. "About Exile Prime, about what's coming next. You're not the only one feeling the weight of it all." Reyes exhales slowly. "It's not just about Exile Prime anymore. That planet was a battleground. But now we've stepped into a larger war, a war between the factions. And we have to make sure we're ready for it." Leah's voice cuts in, quiet but determined. "We've survived this far. We've faced down the Devourer's curse. We've made it through Exile Prime's final storm. We'll keep going, together." Her words linger in the cockpit as Reyes takes another glance at the stars. They've made it this far, yes, but there's no way of knowing how much farther they can go without risking it all. "I don't know if we can outrun them forever," Reyes says, his voice tight. "The factions are still hunting us. Exile Prime was just the beginning. They want more, and eventually they'll come for everything." "The galaxy." Kara's reply is firm. "Then we stop running. We fight." Reyes turns toward her voice, his eyes hardening with resolve. She's right. He knew the day would come when running would no longer be an option. This is it. The point of no return. They can't just escape the war anymore. They have to end it. The factions, the chaos, the destruction. They all need to be put to an end. "We can't do this alone," Reyes mutters, more to himself than anyone else. "We need allies." Leah's voice is steady, and her words are not a question but a confirmation. "The galaxy has fallen into chaos, Reyes. There are those out there who will fight with us, people who want change. They don't have the resources of the factions, but they have something more important. Heart. We can build a coalition, a resistance." "A resistance?" Kara asks, her brow furrowing as she steps closer to Reyes. "You want to gather a group to go against the warlords? Do you realize what that would take?" Reyes meets her gaze, his eyes unwavering. "I know it won't be easy. But if we don't, the galaxy is going to fall into darkness. We've seen what the factions are capable of. If we don't take a stand now, everything we've fought for will be lost. Everything. Leah nods, her eyes already calculating. We need to start somewhere. Maybe with the outlaws and survivors we've encountered over the years. People who've been crushed by the warlords, there's strength in numbers, but we'll need to hit them hard, fast. A shock to disrupt their hold. On the galaxy, Reyes looks at each of them, his crew. The people who have stood by him, fought with him, and risked everything to protect Exile Prime. We have one chance to make this right. The warlords won't expect us to strike back. We can hit them. Where they're weak, divide them. Kara smirks, a rare spark of enthusiasm in her eyes. That's the spirit. All right, Reyes, let's do it. Let's take the fight to them. Reyes gives a tight nod, his mind already spinning with plans. They're going to have to be smart, strategic, and quick. The factions won't take kindly to being challenged, especially by a ragtag group like theirs. But they don't need an army. They need a spark, a revolution. Suddenly, the ship's warning systems beep, breaking the tension in the air. A signal has come through, and it's not friendly. Reyes moves quickly, tapping at the control panel to decrypt the message. Holographic display flickers to life before him, a face emerging from the static, a face he knows all too well. Reyes, the figure says, his voice cold and clipped. You can't run forever, we know where you are. Reyes's jaw tightens. It's Commander Vekor, a ruthless mercenary leader who commands a powerful faction. He'd crossed paths with Reyes before, and they didn't part on good terms. Vekor's reputation for mercilessness was only matched by his cunning. You should have stayed away, Vekor, Reyes says, his voice calm but filled with venom. You've made a mistake coming after us. Vekor smirks, a cruel smile twisting his lips. The mistake was yours, Reyes. You've made an enemy of the wrong people. You've taken something precious and we want it back. You have until the next cycle of the moons to surrender. Otherwise, we'll be forced to take drastic measures. Reyes cuts the communication, his fingers trembling on the console. The stakes have just risen. They no longer have time to regroup. The factions have found them, and they're coming for everything they've built. Vekor is not someone who will stop until he gets what he wants, and Reyes knows that this time, they can't afford to wait any longer. Looks like we don't have a choice, Reyes mutters under his breath. He turns to his crew, his eyes steely with resolve. It's time to strike first. Kara steps forward, her hand resting on the blaster at her hip. Where do we start? Reyes looks out the viewport at the stars ahead, the faint glow of distant worlds twinkling in the darkness. A fire has been lit within him, one he cannot ignore. He has made peace with the fact that they can't outrun this fight anymore. It's time to face it head on. We take the fight to them. We make our stand now before they destroy everything. We hit their strongholds, we break their control, and we create a new galaxy, one where the warlords don't reign. We take back the future. Leah nods, her voice quiet but filled with fire. We'll need a plan. We have one, Reyes says, turning toward the crew. We'll need to assemble allies from every corner of the galaxy. Outlaws, survivors, anyone who's willing to take a stand. We'll gather our forces and strike where it hurts the most. Kara looks at him, a smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. And if they don't want to join us? Reyes smiles, the first real smile he's had since this journey began. Then we'll show them why they should. The next few days are filled with preparations, gathering intelligence, making connections, reaching out to those who are willing to join the fight. The ship becomes their base, a mobile command center as they spread out across the galaxy, hitting key targets and rallying people to their cause. The warlords may be powerful, but they are not invincible. Reyes knows that this is the moment when the galaxy's fate is no longer up to the warlords, but to the people who choose to fight for it. They've stood on the edge of the abyss, and now they're stepping into the light, ready to change the course of history. It's the beginning of something new, a new hope. Epilogue, a new beginning. The stars twinkle in the vast expanse of space, but for the first time in years, they don't seem so distant, so indifferent. The Tempest floats in the silence of the void, a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope amidst a galaxy on the brink of chaos. Inside the ship, the crew gathers around the central table, their faces tired, their eyes still sharp, a mixture of exhaustion and anticipation. Reyes leans forward, his hands steepled in thought. The journey has been long, the stakes higher than any of them could have imagined. Exile Prime, the last uncharted world, had been more than a refuge. It had been a catalyst, a turning point in the war that was consuming the galaxy. They had fought not only for survival but for the future of everyone left behind in the wake of the faction's destruction. "It's over," Reyes says quietly, the weight of the words sinking in. "The Warlords are in disarray. We've cut the head off the snake, but the real battle is just beginning." Kara stands beside him, her arms crossed, watching the stars outside the window. "They'll regroup, won't they? It won't be as easy as cutting down a few of their leaders." Reyes nods. "I know, but we've given the galaxy something it hasn't had in a long time. Hope." Leah, who has been poring over data and coordinates, looks up with a rare smile, one that is softer than usual. "Hope is a powerful weapon, Reyes, and we've just ignited it across the stars. The resistance is growing. The people, ordinary people, are rallying. We've got their attention. They're finally seeing what they've been too afraid to believe. That the warlords, the mercenaries, they can be toppled." The room falls silent for a moment, the hum of the ship the only sound as each crew member reflects on the journey that has brought them here. The sacrifices, the struggles, the countless battles fought and won. But there's also a shared sense of something more, the knowledge that they've changed the course of history. It's the beginning of a new age, not just for Exile Prime, but for the entire galaxy. Reyes glances at each of them. It's a new beginning for all of us, for the people who've suffered, for the ones who are still out there, hiding in the shadows, afraid to speak up. We've shown them that change is possible, but we need to keep going. Kara raises an eyebrow. "And where exactly do we go from here?" Reyes turns back to the star-filled viewport, his eyes narrowed in thought. "We continue to build. We find the pockets of resistance, the survivors. We strike the next blow where the factions are weakest. It's not just about fighting anymore, it's about unity. We've seen what happens when the factions divide. They control through fear, but fear only works for so long. When the people unite, they're unstoppable." Leah taps a few commands into the console. "We've already established contact with several key systems, factions within the larger rebellion, and outlaws looking for a chance to make a real difference. But they need leadership. They need direction. We can give that to them. We can give them the strategy they need to keep pressing forward." Reyes nods, his thoughts firming up. "Exactly. Our work isn't over. We need to spread the message. Start the next phase. Exile Prime was only the first step. We will show them that we're not running anymore." A sudden beeping interrupts the conversation, the sound coming from one of the communication panels. Kara moves quickly, tapping a few commands before the screen flickers to life. A familiar face appears. An older man, his features weathered by years of conflict, but his eyes still burning with the fire of defiance. "Reyes," the man's voice crackles. "This is Captain Vallis of the Free Fleet. We've heard the word. The resistance is gathering strength. We're ready to make our move. We've cleared our ships, our forces are assembled. When you give the signal, we'll be there." Reyes smiles, a grim but satisfied expression crossing his face. "You've got it, Captain. The signal is clear. It's time to bring down the last of the factions. Exile Prime wasn't the end. It's the beginning." As the communication ends, Reyes stands, his fingers flexing as if ready to seize the next moment. He knows the path ahead will be fraught with peril, that their enemies will be relentless. But he also knows that the tide has shifted. The fight is no longer a battle of survival. It's a battle for the soul of the galaxy. Leah glances over at him, her voice quiet but full of conviction. "We've made a real impact, Reyes. But we have to be careful. The warlords will retaliate. The factions won't go down without a fight." "I know. Reyes says, his voice hardening with resolve. But that's what they want. A fight, and I'm done running from it. This time we bring the fight to them. Kara grins, slapping him on the back. Now that's the Reyes we know, ready to take on the world, or the galaxy at least. Reyes chuckles softly, his mind already turning to the battles ahead, the tactics, the alliances they'll forge, and the price they'll pay. But one thing is clear. They are no longer outlaws or survivors. They are leaders. Leaders of a cause bigger than any one of them. A movement that will change the galaxy forever. Days pass as the Tempest continues its journey, touching down on planets across the galaxy, rallying more fighters, more leaders, and more supporters to their cause. The message of resistance spreads, like wildfire, igniting the hearts of those who have lived in fear for far too long. And with every new alliance formed, with every new soldier that joins their ranks, the power of the Warlords wanes. Reyes stands in the command room once again, watching the endless stars that stretch out before them. But this time, the stars are not cold. They are full of possibility. They will not stop. They will not falter. The factions may have seemed invincible, but the truth is undeniable. The people, the ones who had been crushed under the weight of the factions' greed and violence, are rising. And with each passing day, the resistance grows stronger. And so, the journey continues. They've taken the first step toward liberation, but the road ahead will be long. The Warlords have lost their grip on the galaxy's throat, but their last attempt at control will be a bloody one. But Reyes and his crew, with the fire of the resistance burning within them, will face it. They will fight for a new galaxy, a galaxy where Exile Prime was just the beginning, a new hope. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Let me know in the comments what ideas you would like the next story to be about. Please leave a thumbs up, share, subscribe, comment.